Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, my fellow conservatives, as we all begin to gather. Welcome to the 40th anniversary of the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, the largest and oldest and most exciting conservative event in America. This year's conference promises to be the very best ever, in part thanks to the great speakers and panels that you're going to hear from, but also in part because of you, the largest and most committed groups of registrants, exhibitors, sponsors, and supporters we've ever had. The theme of this year's conference is the next generation of conservatives, new challenges and timeless principles. In honor of this theme, we're going to welcome more young leaders than we've ever had before in the CPAC stage during the next 3 days. Most of our MCs, as you've seen, are under the age of 35 years. And we've got an incredible lineup of 10 young conservative leaders, all of whom serve as elected leaders at the highest level of their state governments. They will no doubt inspire us with their experiences, battling for conservative values on the front lines. And over the past 40 years, we have ensured that our young students and activists have had a seat at CPAC and can get the training and inspiration they need to defeat the liberal agenda. I even hear that we've got over 250 students who came on buses all the way from Ohio and Michigan, and welcome. And to all those who are here under 25 and on a young conservative ticket, we welcome and we thank you. You're a next generation of conservative leaders. 40 years ago, President Ronald Reagan, then California Governor Ronald Reagan, stood on the very first CPAC stage. Only 125 people were there, and frankly, CPAC's now grown to a conference of over 10,000 people, most of whom will be gathered here shortly. As a matter of fact, we're going to honor tonight some of our patriots who were at that very first gathering and are here at this conference with us. You see, CPAC was President Reagan's favorite conference. He considered us family. He gave more than 12 speeches at CPAC conferences from 1974 to 1989, including his very first major speech after becoming president. We've kept these speeches, and I read them from time to time. As the saying goes, they're priceless, but they're also timeless. Even though more than 3 decades have passed since his campaign for the White House, and this June marks the 9th anniversary of his death at the age of 93, his inspiring words still ring true today. You know, in 2012, conservatives suffered unexpected and disappointing losses. It still hurts me, and I know it still hurts you. But let's recall what President Reagan said at CPAC in 1975, right after the GOP's devastating losses of 1974, which were far worse than last fall. Reagan rejected the calls to broaden the base of our party because he stated, what they meant was to fuss up and blur even more the differences between ourselves and our opponents. Reagan then argued that a political party cannot be all things to all people, and that it must represent certain fundamental beliefs. We call them the core beliefs of American exceptionalism. Reagan said that we are here to tell the Republican Party that conservatives believe the expansion of the tent means a persuasion of others to join our pursuit of freedom from an asphyxiating government, not the dilution of the principles which Barry Goldwater and Ronald Reagan and our very own founder, William Buckley, believed in. And frankly, as Reagan said, if there are those in the Republican Party who cannot subscribe to the principles, let them go their way. Reagan later said, that he could not agree with some of his friends, perhaps including folks right then and there at CPAC in 1977, who said that this nation needs a new political party. So I too propose to my libertarian, social conservative, Tea Party, and independent friends out there that we cannot succeed without sharing a collective conservative principles all as one. Failure to do so is going to ensure that this liberal nightmare which has descended on our nation will endure until it's too late to get America back. You know, following his historical presidential win, President Reagan said in 1981, again at CPAC, how many of us were there who used to go home from meetings like this with no thought of giving up, but still found ourselves in the dark of night, wondering whether this much loved land may go the way of other great nations, lost a sense of mission and a passion for freedom. You know, let that Reagan victory in 1980 serve as an inspiration for all of us to keep fighting. But you know, in order to turn this country around, 3 critical goals must be met, in my opinion. First, the Republican Party needs to be a conservative party with no apologies. Second, it must recruit candidates who are not only principled conservatives, but articulate as well. If we don't have candidates who can communicate these principles well, we're going to lose election after election. And third, we must embrace the changing demographics of America, not by diluting our principles, but by reaching out to all Americans. The American way should be almost as predictable, frankly, as the law of physics. The American way understands that the laws of God should not be breached by the laws of Washington. The American way preserves our individual rights to not be invaded by drones at home, unlawfully searched at airports, and deprived of our rights to defend ourselves. The American way expects the rule of law to be respected by our own president, that the laws of the country cannot be ignored by executive fiat, whether the subject matter is immigration, defense of marriage, or recess appointments. The American way means we don't take hard-earned money from your family's pocket to provide a better standard of living to those who are not willing to work. The American way is about our dignity, about self-respect and self-reliance, and not dependence of Big Brother to assume our responsibilities as parents, providers, or citizens. You know, in President Reagan's moving farewell address in his 1989, he references his last version of that shining city on a hill. He said it was a tall, proud city, built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds, living in harmony and peace. A city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity. And if there has to be a city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get there. Today, our 40th CPAC anniversary is dedicated to Ronald Reagan. And as we present to you our own version of that shining city on a hill and the path to get there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to CPAC. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you.